Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Jared Brandon Wound Pickups.
Hey, this is me, Todd Novak from the Guitar Knobs podcast, which is what you're listening to, so that should not be news at this point.
That's right.
Hey, everyone, we are super thrilled that you are along for this show. I am mega thrilled about this. Very, very excited. We have one of the founding fathers of modern pedaledom as we know it on the line, and that is...
Robert Keeley, pedal builder.
Extraordinaire. Yeah, so this is going to be a great one, everybody. Robert Keeley is with us. He obviously makes a lot of pedals and really, really well-built pedals. That is for certain. If you are not familiar with Robert Keeley, if you are a youngin' and just joining the show, or you just plain old don't know about these pedals, make sure you check it out as soon as humanly possible. And if you're listening to the episode while your hands are free and you're not driving, you can do it at the same time.
That's right.
Speaking about listening to the podcast, if you can do that now on Spotify, which is super duper awesome and convenient, so check that out. And also, I want to make sure we're going to take a brief moment here, because part of our Patreon offerings has to do with the different tiers of membership, essentially. And one of the tip-top reward is a show dedication. This show is dedicated to Corey Nigro. And I want to make note that he was absolutely thrilled beyond belief that he was going to get on the same show as Robert Keeley. So
that's right.
Corey, bless your heart. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like Patreon. I do that for a couple of people, and so right on, Corey.
Yeah. So a little bit about Corey real quick. As part of the dedication, we like to tell our listeners who this person is and why they matter. All right. So a little bit about Corey. Corey is a Finnish carpenter in his day job. And while listening to the Walsh Guitars and Novo podcast one day, he said, I too realized I can achieve my dream of building guitars. So I'm in the process of setting up my small but humble workshop. But thank you, because your podcast helped give me the kick in the butt I needed. That is like, man, that warms my heart.
We kick butts.
Big time.
Yay, team.
Yeah.
Yep. Corey, that's fantastic. How do you say Corey's last name again?
Corey Nigro.
Nigro. That is incredible. I love hearing that story.
It's inspiring.
Absolutely.
He said he didn't get into playing music until college in 2005, and his roommate was a huge SRV fan. And he said, if I was going to be his roommate, I had to learn bass. Now I play both bass and guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah. He says, my one and only guitar is a John Parsons. Hey, he's been on the show.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
John Parsons.
Very cool.
All the way from Australia, man.
A Raleigh semi-hollow out of Tasmania. Close to Australia.
Nice.
Close. And he also included his 4 on the floor. His 4 on the floor is a Land Devices HP2, a Land Devices EP5, and the, yep, you guessed it, Land Devices / Farm Pedals No Masters OD / Fuzz. That was one that they just came out with this year that was really, really hot.
He likes that brand.
He also chose the Lollygagger FX Cherry Box Fuzz.
All right.
Yes.
That is awesome. So my buddy Sean Wright will love to hear that.
Oh yeah, yeah. That is a wild pedal. He just released that recently, and if you haven't heard the demos for any of those, go out and check them out. Okay, everybody. So Corey, thank you for your immense contribution to our show. It truly helps us out.
You're the man, Corey.
Thank you, Corey.
Okay, now let's do this, man.
Yep.
Man, right on.
What's going on in your world this week, buddy?
Oh boy. Long await this Carina V. I finally got. And it's not totally done yet, but a friend of mine who built it for me is just really busy with life. So I said, I'll just take it now and finish the rest out. So there's really not much that needs to be done on this, but the guitar is beautiful. The neck is perfect. I mean, I said, I want the neck this way, and he did it perfect. He already has that big gold Gibson logo that goes on the headstock, even though it's not really a Gibson.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it looks really good, man. It's really impressed with this build.
The big thing is you didn't obtain that.
That's-
Someone else did.
Yeah. So
Okay, good.
anyway, it's not like I'm going to sell it, so it doesn't matter anyway, right?
Okay.
It's a light guitar. I just can't wait to finish this thing out. I'm really impressed with it. So that's kind of what's going on. I made some pickups for it. I got some of the hardware in, and
Cool.
I gotta have somebody.
Are you
align
doing a
the
Blackguard
bridge.
on that?
Blackguard with probably a black. No, I don't remember what I was
Blackguard?
gonna. I think I'm gonna do Blackguard with a white jack.
Nice.
Something
That's
missing.
interesting.
Yeah,
So did you pick out the piece of wood?
I didn't.
Mm.
I didn't. He already had that, but he already kind of had it half made, and I said I'll buy that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I buy that for $1. All right. Sounds good.
Hey, I've done that too. I was up in Tulsa. Steph Lee Jones, I went into his shop and I couldn't leave without saying, I'll take that one. If
Right.
you finish that. You know, it's guitars are incredible.
It feels good when you see something and you know
Oh,
you
yeah.
want it. It's a good feeling when you finally
Yeah.
get it.
They're a little bit addictive. I mean, I'm just saying.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Can't leave it alone.
So
Yeah.
speaking of that, Robert, what's going on in your music world this week, man?
Well, I'm going to, my musical world has been more based on the mechanics of our production. In terms of music, I'd have to step back a couple of weeks. I've been working on some real cool project to have Bluetooth controlled guitar effects pedals.
Oh,
And I can tell you all about it. I think it's a really fun thing. I think pedals will go that way easily. If I
what if
I
we
would
save a little bit of that for your actual interview part so we can get in deep to it?
yeah,
Let's do that.
But in terms of guitar stuff, I also got my dad's Telecaster, so I was picking on that. So I got a new guitar in the house too. So
What year is that?
it's nothing. It's actually a guitar I bought for him back in 2004. It's a little made in Mexico Telecaster, but he died, and I got this guitar back that I got him. So it's really cool because the fingerboard's all dirty, and it's just awesome to see like fingerprints of his playing.
That's fantastic.
Oh, wow.
I know, isn't it cool?
Yeah,
Sentimental.
never
So
clean that.
that's what's going on in my world this week.
That's cool. I can definitely appreciate that.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Me too.
Let's see. I have been messing around with this really great SNK pedal. We're going to have Scott DeBackler, who makes SNK pedals, on the show in a couple weeks. And he's got this thing called a CMO. It's a really long name, but it's a CMO drive. It's based on a Sun preamp. And
Nice.
it rocks. It absolutely rocks. I love plugging in something new, especially when you're talking about drive pedals, because in theory, you could say, oh, this is all the same stuff.
Yeah.
But it never is. When you plug it in, you're like, why does this sound so completely different? So I just love that. It's exciting. And so he did a great job on that pedal. And so I've been having fun playing with that. And other than that, yeah, we're just jamming along and doing all kinds of podcast stuff. So,
Nice.
anyways, I think it's time for
1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor.
all right, Robert Keeley. I
Yes,
get to
sir.
say that. Robert Keeley.
Yes, sir.
It's time for your 4 on the floor. Give us the goods.
Give us the goods. Well, picking out only 4 effects pedals is virtually impossible. So this is from probably a list of 40. I'll pick my top 4 that just come to mind. I don't know. I can geek out on certain parts of all kinds of different pedals and designs. So I kind of look at things from not only a musical standpoint, but a circuit standpoint. So
Sure.
They're all fun. The first one that comes to mind is the Line 6 DL4. That's such a magical pedal in my mind. I recall, I don't recall the exact year, but it was probably 2005 or 2006. I was at one of my first LA NAMM shows. Somehow, George Trips of Line 6 came by and introduced himself. So I started following him around like a puppy dog because he's a real godfather of pedals. You know, he's got five years on me easy building pedals, you know, and guys like him and Fuller and a bunch of other cats. But so I'm following him around, and he was incredibly kind and generous and funny, and so he starts telling me that he has got some modifications for these things because, you know, at the time I was doing the TS9 mods and BD2 mods and MT2 mods and CE2 mods, and so it sounded like an incredible offer. He said he had, you know, we were going to change a chip to improve the sound quality. We were going to make some capacitor changes to correct the bass response. We were going to make some resistor changes to fix the infamous volume drop problem that those pedals exhibit, even in current production today, I think. So, you know, it was like a dream. And he's telling me about the inner operations. And, you know, we didn't have any digital pedals out at the time. I didn't have any digital pedals out. It seemed really cool because it forced me to work with surface mount stuff too. And I hadn't done that in the past for pedal production. I hadn't done it there. For repair work I had. So then I was forced to kind of really learn that DL4. It's just a wonder for delay and effects. You guys have both used it, right?
I have not.
Wow, how exciting. I mean, you'll be able to dive into that thing, and, you know, from a historical perspective, I think that thing came out a long time ago. It must be early 2000s. I probably shouldn't really know, but maybe something like that, you know, like, and so at any rate, that was quite a gift, and we started doing this complete set of mods, got to experiment with it. And then as that pedal's got a built-in looper in it, and it's got presets, and the sound quality of the effects are absolutely wonderful. You know, that's never been an issue with the DL4s, and no one's complained about the sound at all. So you combine all those things in one box, a looper and ping pong delays and syncopated rhythmic delays like Benson Echo Rex, and then there's the Memory Man in there, and there's, you know, this Bucket Brigade device and stuff like that.
Right.
And so it's a complete package. So I think that one just really does it for me, because even to this day, this week, I'm working at getting to that, you know, level of complexity. And so that thing has been kind of an inspiration for the entire time.
That's awesome.
I've been building pedals. Yeah, because it's got tap tempo. It's got everything cool. You know, it's just right. You know, and so that one is definitely way up at the top. So that's the must-have.
Okay.
Not that I play it that often, even anymore. You know, I don't even know when the last time I plugged into one is, but that one is epic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have to check that one out for sure now. You sold me on it.
Yeah.
All right.
You got me jonesing about it.
Hey, then you get to watch people like Nick Reinhardt of Terra Melos. It's like a nerd math band of these incredible musicians that set their own path. And but he is an artist and a master at making sounds out of guitar effects, and he uses the DL4 to trigger looping and a variety of the other tricks you can do with that thing. So you can do everything, and none of it's pedestrian, you know, what he does. So it's a great machine.
Well, I think you just convinced a whole lot of people to go check that out. Yeah, that's great. What's number 2?
I think that the Klon is an interesting pedal for so many reasons. And first of all, you know, I have to admit that I totally didn't get it when I was introduced to it. So it's kind of funny to have pushed it out of my purview or whatever for so long. But back in about 2002, this buddy of mine, internet acquaintance, David Zabatos, wanted me to design a pedal. And I think maybe it was 2002, 2003. And it was the pedal that came out called the Time Machine Boost. And his vision was to have a vintage boost and a modern boost. Along the development of that, he said, "Have you heard of this Klon pedal?" And I was like, "Nope, sure haven't." he's like, I'm going to send you mine, and I want you to check it out. And I was modding tube screamers and blues drivers and making compressors and designing the Katana boost at the time. So I get this pedal, and I'm used to DS1s and tube screamers and stuff, and it seems like kind of a limited range, mild overdrive. You know, it was kind of had a big mid-range push that was, you know, apparent. At the time, I totally missed how to use it or how to operate it. But fast forward more than a decade, and Electro Harmonics came out with that Soul Food. There was JHS and people like that were doing mods to it. I was being asked to, you know, people inside my company and stuff were like, hey, shouldn't we do one? And, you know, Wampler had one. And then I start looking around, and everybody has got a Klon pedal.
Yeah.
And so I decide to listen to it a lot more critically. And then it became addictive, right? And then I was like, oh no, I've met the perfect overdrive pedal, you know, and I fell in love with the EQ and all the wonderful stuff it does. Like for me, when I was looking at it on the scope, I was amazed at how certain frequencies could be louder, more amplitude, but not as distorted as other frequencies that were lower in amplitude. And that's just not the way you see any standard overdrive pedal or any circuit really operate. And then I realized that, then I looked at the schematic, and that was a piece of art too. It was because there was these interesting feedback loops, or they might even be called feed forward loops, but these feedback loops that carved away at the sound depending on where the gain was and where the drive control was set. And then I read the story about how Bill Finnegan had these two, whatever they were, MIT engineers work on it for a number of years. Mm-hmm. Have you guys heard that story too?
I have not.
Yeah, so he's got like these two different guys over time working on his dream. He's got this vision for what it sounds like. Mm-hmm. And so my first go around with it, I was like, I want to do that thing that it does, but I don't want to make a copy of it. I'm going to try to figure out how I can do it some other way. And over 3 days, Creighton Hale, he's my other engineer at the shop. He and I designed the Oxblood over 3 days, trying to do as best I could in a short period of time, you know, come up with a similar sounding, performing design, but not making it a copy. And anyways, the pedal's just amazing because it does certain things so well. It's voiced so perfectly for what it does. It's hard to go back to other drives and kind of realize, oh wait, there is a place for other rock and roll sounds. You know what I mean?
Sure, for sure.
So I think that was just kind of that pedal's been magical because how I didn't know anything about it until 2012 or whatever, and then it's got a story. I got to meet Bill Finnegan, and he's a great guy.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, I met him at a Nashville show, and he got to tell me he was working on some other designs, but he was afraid of releasing them because people would copy them, kind of like the Klon. And I definitely feel for him in that case. It's the way he wants to manufacture and build just doesn't support the same goals as people that want to, reproduce his sound, Yeah. So, at any rate, that's a really wonderful pedal too. You know what I mean? It's got so many followers and stuff like that, So
people love it. What do you got for number 3?
Man, that's a tricky one. The standard tube screamer is another thing that is in a similar vein. I hate to waste one of mine on a tube screamer, but the tube screamer is one of those circuits as a builder or designer that it teaches you so much because that guy got it right. He put the right amount of diodes, the right amount of gain, the right amount of soft clipping, and the right amount of tone control so that you could push those mids and dial up some highs or make it darker. And it's just a really simple thing. It has a much easier on the ear tone than, say, the MXR Distortion Plus or other, overdrives that were coming right before it. The simple understanding it is really simple because there's been articles by folks like R.G. Keen and things like that break it down. And so I think must-have pedals is kind of been so important for my own development and my understanding and appreciation of effects pedals. I take the concepts for shaping the sound in a tube screamer, I apply them to our DSP work. Our reverb pedals, it wouldn't be surprising to find parts of the code where I filter it exactly like a tube screamer. Yeah, it just sounds right. And so I can have Aaron Tackett, my DSP guy. We discovered that applying tube screamer design rules to DSP produces excellent results.
And can you just explain just real quick for those who may not be familiar with what DSP is?
Yeah, that's digital signal processing. It's the code version of the circuits that make audio effects. So, there's also DSP for video and a variety of other things, telecommunications. But digital signal processing for us is kind of recreating all those vintage guitar effects and then dreaming up new ones. And we can write programs that simulate electronic circuits.
And I take it they also let you put stuff in a smaller box.
Yeah, you can put it in a much smaller package, right?
Yeah.
So the Tube Screamer is much more than just that green box to me. It's made payroll. It saved my life,
Holy smokes.
Oh, of course. When you need to make payroll and you have a bunch of Tube Screamer clones, or in my case, red dirt pedals, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, what can I do this to make it, worthwhile for someone to have another copy of this pedal? How much can I change? Can I make it do this? Can I make it do that? So the Tube Screamer is very malleable. So it's one of those
good
pedals.
bass pedal.
It's a complete joy.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
For pedal builders, the Tube Screamer is kind of like the instruction manual on how to build effects,
Nice.
I've got two of them. My Ibanez doesn't have quite the same amount of hair as my Maxon. They're both just great pedals that I always kind of come back to.
Sure.
You give them a little hair and then you give your amp a little hair, and that's what I like.
Yeah.
Absolutely. For me, the Tube Screamer is kind of like coffee. When you go to a perfume store or cologne store or something, and they keep on spraying all these different flavors at you, and you're like, okay, that was cool. And then all of a sudden you're like weirded out by all these different sounds. Then you go back to the Tube Screamer coffee and go, okay, got a bass line now. I'm ready to go.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. What do you have for number 4?
I want to talk about the little teeny bit I know about Beatronics.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And how do you say his last name? Pampuri or something?
Pampuri, yeah. Is
I have a royal jelly in my hand.
Oh, you lucky dog.
I do. And let me tell you, serial number 11.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That one does go to 11. That's awesome.
This one goes to 11. Yeah.
He's
This
a heck
thing-
of a pedal builder, man.
Absolutely. I was at the last NAMM show we was at last year.
Mm-hmm.
I kept on seeing these bee creatures running around.
Yep.
and I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. And those costumes actually look good. It's not, wasn't schmaltzy or whatever. And then they kept on coming around. And then all of a sudden I saw these really awesome rock and roll shirts that had bees, and they looked like they were out of Hendrix's closet,
Yeah.
right? And I thought, dang, that's pretty cool. I wonder who that is. And then I'm walking around, coming back from a break or something, and I see this crowd around this guy with like Jimi Hendrix curly hair, and
Oh, yeah.
and he was like bent back, like he was getting ready to pose for a magazine photo, and he was just wailing on this pedal, and I thought, oh, that guy's really
He's good,
awesome.
too. He's a heck of a player.
And then over the next day or so, I realized, wait, I think that's all the same company.
Yep.
I go over there and I'm like blown away by their marketing and all the material in their booth. I'm trying desperately to remember everything now. I just remember the feeling of seeing it all, going, this guy's got everything together. Oh my God, he is like best of show.
Yeah.
And then I start looking at the pedals. Have you ever seen such cool designs? I mean, he aced it, right?
Oh yeah.
So they're all look like they're like relic or whatever, and they've got sexy knobs, and they've got, you know, amazing plates that are bolted on them, riveted on them. Then they've got Allen wrench connections. It just goes on and on. You know, there's little you could do to improve it. I mean, even the nuts on the stomp switches were a new piece of machinery, not the standard thing out of China, you know?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we discussed when he was on the show a handful of episodes back is that he purposely doesn't use any of the normal hardware. He goes out of his way to surplus things and finds little like parts and stuff, and he'll build a pedal around those things so that it's totally unique. Because even like this, even the nuts for the input jacks are not the normal nuts on input jacks. They're different.
Oh, it's so awesome.
And they sound amazing.
Oh my God. Then, we started talking, and he just goes into his full-on demonstration of this pedal. And I was so enamored by every sound that came out of this thing. I just couldn't believe it. And he had so many ways to compound his own sonic drug. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, and I told him I definitely wanted to buy one. He gave me a shirt and stuff like that and all kinds of cool stuff.
That's cool.
And so then when I saw him, I think it was on Facebook, I saw that they finally had gone into production or had released it. Man, so I jumped on and bought one right away.
Yeah, for sure. They're so good. And I love how he does the special, like the special edition ones. You know, he just does a handful of them.
Oh, that's cool.
Good
I
idea.
didn't know.
Yeah.
You know, I think, I hope I'm not wrong in any of this, but I think he used that engineer Howard Davis. I think it talks about it on the website. I sure hope it does. And so that guy, I found out, he's a great grandfather of effects pedals. You know, he did you know, stuff in the 70s for Electro Harmonics, several of their pedals, like 4 of their key early designs from the 70s and 80s. And so I got a chance to exchange some emails with that guy. And that was like, I'm an electrical engineer. And this guy was like, is also one, but it was like so far over my head. I had to like go. I mean, I kind of knew what he was talking about in terms of every component he was talking about or every technology, but the things that he was talking about sounded so magical to me about these current and voltage curves and over, you know, different phase angles and stuff like that. I made the mistake of saying the word digital, and I thought he was gonna maybe explode. You know, I thought he was like, you should never do anything in digital. That's just, you know, it's, you know, he's like, how appalling of you. It sounded like he was thinking that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like, that's like, you know, so there's that aspect of it where this thing is expertly crafted, not only on the outside, but on the inside. So I consider it just like,
it's a work
when people
of art.
say is the pedal world dead? Absolutely not. Not when stuff like this is coming out.
You're completely right. And you cracked the case open, right? You saw his circuit board, right?
Shoot, you know what? I'm actually really bad at that. I don't try to do that on.
Have to do it.
I know what you're talking about, though. You're talking about the circuit board looks really cool. The circuit board's a piece of art, too. Absolutely, that's right. Okay, I saw all that stuff. Yeah, imagine that, too. Dude, he aced it in every single category.
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect 10. I don't know what I can't remember what they cost, but whatever it is, it's worth it.
Yeah. So, wow, man, that is arguably the most complete 4 on the floor that we've had, just as far as like,
oh, nice,
soup to nuts, the whole story and everything. That's great. So people who are listening to this right now, make sure that you check out our Four on the Floor blog on our website. And we also post that on our, at least we post an announcement for that on the Instagram. I'm trying to find some more engaging ways to get that out into the public. But for now, you can find all of our Four on the Floors complete with the list of all the pedals and descriptions and links to go buy them on our website. So make sure you go and do that when this episode is out. Robert Keeley, we are going to talk a little bit about, we're going to talk a lot about your whole thing, man, your pedal jam.
My pedal jam.
Your pedal jam.
Nice.
Do you know how many pedals you have offhand?
There's one person I need to make a shout out to in that regards, and I think his name is Bart Provost.
Oh, yeah.
If you have, okay, good. He runs Effects Pedal Database, I think, and according to that website, it's like at 94 or 96 or something, but I think they're missing some.
So over 100.
It seems like it's right there.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty close. Pretty close. So I might try to contact him and see what I could do about closing that gap this year.
Yeah.
Making it even 100.
Do a 100 based a theme pedal or something.
That's right.
For those who don't know Effects Database, it is the end all be all for if you want to know if a pedal exists. That's where
right.
you go to find out. Provost's done an amazing job of curating constantly.
Oh yeah.
Everything in the pedal world, anything that you can, and not just here, all over the world. So
right.
Awesome.
No, it's everything.
And for the record, everybody, I did try to get him on the show, and I think he's Polish or Czech. Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But he didn't want to do it because he just didn't feel like it would come across well for the listeners, and I can respect that. But I would have loved to have him on the show. And if you're listening, if you change your mind, call me up, buddy.
Yeah, he's like the librarian, isn't he?
Exactly.
He's got everything documented.
He is the superhero pedal librarian.
Thank God for those guys.
Yeah. I know, right? Most of them came out in the past 6 years. That's kind of like what I consider V2 of Keeley Electronics.
Uh-huh.
V2. So
let's
since then
talk
we've
about
done a ton.
V1 a little bit then.
Great.
So how'd you get started in all this, man?
How did I get started? It was a matter of always playing guitar since I think since I was 7 or 8. I think I got my first guitar in '78, and my dad played guitar. My dad was into electronics, and I
remember
started
what your first guitar was?
A Yamaha FG. I think it was a FG 45. It's a little 3/4 inch, 3/4 scale, 3/4 inch. It was the smallest guitar ever. Ever. It was hugely small. And so it was purchased in Highland Park, Illinois by my grandma, who's still alive. And she got it for me, and I rocked that thing all the way till I lost it in a divorce, but in 2012.
Oh.
So yeah, but it was a great thing because it was so easy to play. I don't know what the scale was, but it just made super stretches totally possible, and you could bend the strings for days and stuff like that. So it was great to learn on.
Cool.
As a teen. So but out of high school, I went to a tech school because I wanted to learn how to do electronics, and I got myself a job at a stereo shop. At the time, car stereos were really happening, and huge systems. So I got to repair all those car stereo amplifiers. That was such a cool time because, companies like Rockford Fosgate and Hyphonics,
Pyle,
all those things, man. Those things were made in Tempe, Arizona, and it was made in America electronics gear. And this stuff was so cool. They had switching power supplies and huge, capacitors in the power supply. And then the coolest ones, the Rockford Fosgates, those had, MOSFETs for output. So when they distorted, it sounded good. Well, Lord knows I took that to heart, later on in designing the Katana boost. So,
can you real quick to explain what a MOSFET is for everybody?
Yeah, there's a fancy name for it. It's like metal oxide semiconducting field effect transistor. But it's another...
Everybody remember that.
Yeah,
There's a
my
quiz
brain
later.
just blew up.
Nerd alert. Nerd alert. But what it is it's a way that you can operate this device like a faucet. It's a 3-legged amplifier, and it just uses a certain type of material to be the hand on the faucet, and another type of material to be the inlet and outlet type stuff. It's just like a silicon transistor or germanium transistor or a tube, and but these have certain characteristics, like what Howard Davis was talking about, that these curves, these relationships between frequencies and how certain frequencies distort and things like that make it easy on the ear. And
what a great explanation! Thank you for doing that. I just learned more. I love it.
So yeah, like sometimes silicon transistors have better performance, but that better performance is exactly what can lead to sharp angles that sound harsh. So so I forgot where I was going, but so we were designing pedals or something like that in the beginning, and I was going to a stereo store, so I learned a lot working on stuff like even VCRs, but CDs were real kind of still new, and then big screens, and then you see tons of home stereo equipment with tubes, some of the real high-end stuff, but lots and lots of Japanese equipment. And I learned a ton from working on Yamaha and Kenwood and Denon and Onkyo and Pioneer. All those stereo systems had just killer Japanese design, and that stuff, in my estimation, looked like a lot of it was hand assembled. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so again, I got to learn like what stuff failed, like what kind of stuff got hot, and if you took a shortcut here, and there, or if you looked at a piece of gear from, at the time, Korea or Taiwan, it was significantly different than the stuff that was coming out of Japan. And so, and then after that, I worked for then I worked for an electrical engineer that was modifying stuff for the company called Glamour Shots, that that place in the mall that took equipment.
Yeah.
He designed that photography system and printing system, and his whole thing was based on modifying like Sony and Panasonic gear to do what these photographers wanted, to be able to capture and print the image right there in front of the ladies. And so that's where I got the first experience then making circuit boards, and the concept of just modifying gear. Take another piece of gear that's doing what you want it to do and then add features to it.
Wow.
And and so the whole time I was going to college to become an electrical engineer. And
you
so
learned how to make pedals at Glamour Shots.
I did. There's all these really cute pictures of me with the sequins and my hair done up just right, and
There's no better
makeup perfect. There's a certain look to those things,
Oh yeah,
and
it's kind of like the Star Trek when they pan from Captain Kirk's sweaty face to the girl, and she's all fuzzy and hazy and beautiful. It's that thing.
It is. It's the Star Trek effect.
Yeah.
right.
How funny. So doing that, he also had a variety of other things. Like he would do stuff for the hospital attached to the university or whatever, the research type stuff that was going on. And so one day I'd have to be working on some sort of system that monitored rats for movement inside cages, and he had these little circuit boards that he would chemically etch, or I would chemically etch in the end. So that's where I learned how to etch circuit boards and make those modifications. The guy was a kind of a jerk to work for, but it proves to be a good thing in the long run, because he managed his own little electrical engineering firm and manufacturing firm. And lo and behold, that's what I ended up doing. So I can see it from a better perspective now, all the stuff I didn't like about him.
Sure.
But it really wasn't about him. It was about me. So,
yeah.
So then I worked for another guy that, as I finished my degree, Took me 8 years to get my degree because I only went part-time because I had these other full-time jobs, so I could only go part-time, which again, I think worked out perfectly for me. I wasn't in a rush to get school done, and I ended up learning more and using more of what I did when I worked than the school stuff for many years. The next guy I worked for was critical to building pedals because he was like the humanitarian. He was the guy that was the Gandhi of stereo store music business owners. He was always infinitely concerned about the employees and how they were living their lives, and were we getting the most out of our lives, and could we do it somehow by selling stereos and home theater systems and but he was like, he had that kind of heart.
That's
you know what I
cool.
mean? And that kind of mind where it was just like, that was, you went to work so you could discuss for an hour the philosophy of doing it all, but it really wasn't that bad as I might be making it sound. It was really powerful. And so, again, that bleeds over into my business too. So
That's fantastic.
That's
so I get out of college and I get a job as a teacher because I have no idea what I want to do. I see these pedals that Trey Anastasio's playing, the Ross compressor and the Tube Screamer, and I'm like trying to buy the old Ross compressor online, and they were like $450, $650 or something crazy.
Yeah.
And I was on teacher's pay. So I decided, I was like, I should be building these myself. I should just order the parts and put it together. And sure enough, I ordered the parts in, built one. And right before I plugged it in, I remembered thinking, the compressor was like the worst sound I ever heard in my life when I was growing up, when I was in school in Germany. I thought there is nothing worse than you could do to a guitar than a compressor. I played this Ibanez, what was it, the CP9? And I played the CP9 and I just did not get it. I'm sure I had some DiMarzio super humbuckers going into this, this compressor completely overloaded. I thought this is the most abominable sound ever. And so I plug in this compressor, a clone of the Ross, and I plugged in a Telecaster to it, and I thought that was the best sound I'd ever heard in my life.
That's rad.
I thought it was, I plugged into this Telecaster, a Tube Screamer, and into a 1959 Deluxe.
Oh boy.
I know. And it was the most magical thing. You can see the picture of it on the internet. If you search somewhere, you can see that picture I used to use. I was so proud of that little setup. And man, I put one on eBay to pay for the parts to make another one. And they just sold like hotcakes.
Now, is that the beginning of the extremely well-known Keeley compressor?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I think I made 2 or 3 changes, and I improved the parts quality quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And I made a power supply change and a kind of stability change in.
I mean, that's one of the most. I guess that's sort of the Tube Screamer of the compressor world, really.
I've been so lucky there. We are now at like almost at 63,000 of those pedals.
What?
We've made. Yes, 63,000.
Wow.
I know it's really a blessing.
Wow.
Yeah. So that thing just took off, and it's allowed me to continue to grow, even though I was doing my best to shove everything down.
52,000 knobs.
Isn't that great?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
You know what's better is that's a lot of jobs for a lot of people for a lot of years.
That is true. That is true.
That's what I like.
So that's the beginning part, and it's kind of known that I took this massive detour and got hooked on pills, opiates, and I proceeded to do nothing for 10 years. So there's not much to tell in the middle. Everything just lived off the compressor and the Katana, and eked out a couple designs with the help of another engineer and stuff like that. But then everything changed around in 2012 and 2013, and that's how you get the lion's share of almost 100 pedals.
That's amazing. I mean, I know you just kind of like did a little blip over that 10 years. and I'm assuming that's on purpose, and I definitely,
Well, hey, I will talk about it to the nth degree, because hopefully somebody else will get off pills, but I've told the story a time or two, so sometimes I don't want to sound like I'm preaching the same old story again. But yeah, I was a complete, research monkey on those pills. I thought they were the greatest thing in the world. I mean, they made me feel absolutely wonderful. I had enough money to buy as many as I could possibly take, and I was just a spoiled brat. I mean, I was like literally the kid that won the lottery because I had this pedal that was doing so well, and I didn't. Those pills are so horrible. What the opiates do is they make you think you're a Superman in your head. Everything is going great in your head, and you're just about ready to start working. You're just about ready to you're going to do it this time. If you get just the right amount of pills in you, you'll actually sit down and focus on the design and get it done. And that's the way every single hour of every single day goes. And you get nothing done. And so, one day I saw this other person, and I was like, you know what? I want to change my life. I want to get rid of the old one. It's never going to work, and I want to move on. And when I did that, I came across Creighton, who's Lisa's son, my wife now, her son. And him and I sat down, and we forced ourselves to learn how to do pedal building, designing, pedal engineering. I had all the book smarts, and I had experience in other worlds, and I had to really kind of build it all since 2012, 2013. So it's kind of funny when I hear people call me a grandfather or early part of it, because I'm really not. I had my degree since then, but I didn't apply it to anything because of the other problems I had going on. So it's been a ridiculously fruitful 5 or 6 years,
Yeah.
And it's because I get these amazing people around me. So, the whole company is just amazing people right now. So
wow.
I got a lot of people that help me design everything from the beautiful graphics to, and they get to interpret my neurotic ideas. Mm-hmm. And these people know more than I do now. I just kind of air traffic control.
That's awesome. And I know that we've had, I'm not going to start naming all the people, but your names come up several times when we've interviewed people that, I'm like, how did you get your start? And they're like, well, I started with Robert Keeley, and I was modding pedals. I think if I'm not, when we were interviewing Old Blood Noise, I believe that came up. Yeah.
Brady.
Yep. And because I've got a Keeley modified Rat, and he was saying how he was doing the Rats, and I'm like, I bet I have one of the pedals you modified. But
yeah, no, Brady's a great guy. Brady Smith used to work for me for a couple of years, I think.
Yeah,
and then he founded Walrus, if I'm not mistaken, and he then went on to Old Blood Noise, and so it's really kind of cool to see somebody take pedal building and make a couple of universes out of it. He's got two different legacies, so that's really kind of cool to see. It
really is, and it's such a fantastic platform to do that, to be creative within the thing that helps creativity.
Exactly, because I'm a wannabe musician. I'm a wannabe rock god. I used to study Yngwie Malmsteen solos, Randy Rhoads solos, Eddie Van Halen solos, Al Di Meola solos, Jeff Beck solos, Jimmy Page's solos, Steve Vai. So and I just would die to play like that, but that's not where I am. And so then the next thing is like, hey, am I good at composing sounds? Yeah. And getting a group of guys to make effects pedals that where you can really get good sounds. So it's all about the love of music.
You one thing you've done really well is that I think you are you've created extremely accessible pedals. You've really gone down the path of the multi-pedal, right? And combination pedals or enhanced pedals within pedals, right? And to me, that speaks of someone who is not necessarily just trying to create the next crazy sound, but like, here is a very useful tool to create a sound that crafted specifically to make that happen. When you're considering some of these pedals in your later years, how can you just kind of give us an idea of like how the creative process works with you? Like how you go about that?
Yeah. So pedal building has, when you build them yourself, pedal building has this, and you're trying to create your own sounds. Pedal building has, one thing we try to do is we try to add features or find something that solves a problem for a musician. And because all the basic sounds have kind of been designed and covered, they're all kind of mathematically there. If you add things together, if you subtract things, you multiply or you divide, that gets you pretty much every effect that's out there. So then you're forced to combine sounds, or first you can modify sounds a little bit, move the bass around, move the treble around. But then you start to add sounds together. And that's where the creative process starts to come in. After modifying things and you start to move some of the basic characteristics around, then you start trying to add things together, and that's where you see colorful things like royal jelly, where you can add this sound and this sound's in parallel with this sound, and you start doing that. And then you try to find clever ways to, after you put those features together and everyone complains, well, that's really kind of cool, but it's not very useful on stage, it's not very friendly on stage, or it's not very friendly when I do this or that. Then you realize, okay, well, I've solved the problem, but I haven't made it any easier for the musician to enjoy it. So I've got to go back and try to think how, if I'm trying to make music, what is going to facilitate that? And if I add a feature, I have to make sure that it facilitates making music instead of some fancy tap dance or whatever. So that's the creative process for that dimension. Mm-hmm. For the dimension of crafting the sounds, for me, being such a music fan, always listening to stuff in the car. So sometimes I'll be driving around thinking, what would Frank Zappa do to get that sound? How did he combine those different effects? And I've found a lot of creativity in that, being able to say, well, I don't know exactly how he does it, but what if I took a phaser circuit that's moving around these frequencies and these little small delays, and what if I added some sort of tremolo to it so that it throbbed harder? And then what if I added a little bit of delay to it, or I meant a little bit of reverb to it.
Yeah.
Not that there was a reverb control to it, but what if I just snuck it in there? And then you start daydreaming about, well, wait a second. What if I made it so that if it was dynamic, so that if I played harder, then, the reverb might clear up. And if I do this and if I do that, and then, so when you're constantly trying to push yourself then to dream up new ways to put sounds together, it gets a little bit easier over the years to say, and, of course, I'm, again, blessed with these amazing people around me that can implement these ideas far better than my neurotic butt could do, right?
Sure.
So I'm like, hey, can you work on this? What if we did this? What if we put this over here instead of over here like it's normally done? And then it leads to all kinds of fun new sounds,
That's so cool. Are you now, or when you're doing this, are you doing it in a group, or are you coming with the idea and everybody, well, how does that work?
Sure. So the three of us kind of work in the front office right by the door. And so we can exchange ideas really quickly. So what happens is I'll come in all excited because I daydreamed up something. I'm like, one time I came in and I was driving to work and I was like, what if I had this box? This box would have a knob for the second order harmonic and a knob for the third order harmonic, and then like the fifth and the sixth. And I'm like, this would just be the harmonic generator. This would like make, you could add third order harmonics to any tube screamer or whatever. You could do this to this, or you could, imagine how awesome it would sound if, you had this miracle box. It sounds all good. It's like I'm selling something to somebody. And everyone's like, yeah, that's exactly what I needed. All those harmonics, all those things. Wait, the only difference between a violin and a cello is the harmonics that it produces. The difference between my voice and your voice are the different harmonics and stuff. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I've just designed the coolest box in the world. So I walk in there, I'm like, hey, Aaron, what if we had this? Could you do something in DSP where I could have a control where I'm controlling the harmonics, like the second order, the third order, and the fourth harmonics, if I just had volume control for those? And he's like, sure, no problem. So I'm like, okay, cool. So come back, not too long. That's actually a very simple mathematic operation, right? And
well, to some people,
Right.
no, it's actually no. It's so funny. I mean, if I wanted the second order harmonic, it's just an octave. It's just doubling the frequency, and the third octave, the third harmonic, is twice that. So it's 2 octaves up. And the funny thing is, I'm talking to him, I was like, how come we, this is not working as I expected. It just sounds like octaves. And he's like, well, what you're really doing is you're telling me to design a synthesizer. That's how you synthesize a voice. That's what a keyboard is. It's those synthesizer sounds that you're always doing in the shop, like, wow.
Yeah.
He's like, those are just these octaves, these different components added together. It might be a square wave here or this and that and these frequencies, but that's what sculpts this sound. So you're just telling me that you really wanted to play with a synthesizer today. And so sometimes, like, you go off in some direction, you don't consider something, and you don't realize how foolish you are, and you really don't know very much at all. But sometimes you come up with cool ideas, and so sometimes you're like, hey, what if we put flanging on a specific kind of flanging, and we develop our own flanging for the trails on pedals, on delays rather. I'm sorry, not pedals, on the trails of delays. And that came up with a new sound that no pedal does. And we're going to put that in our new echo pedal for the Winter NAMM show.
Oh, nice.
And I know it's so amazing to play with, because it started from the development of our Caverns pedal, and the Caverns pedal has this three-way modulation switch. Mm-hmm. And I always felt like, from the dad guitar player perspective, the old folk guitar player, the blues lawyer, that it was way too because that's what I am. I'm the blues lawyer contingency in the company, and the dads. So I was like, no dad's going to use this modulation set this high. This is too crazy. And all the young, good-looking guys are like, no, dude, that's exactly what we want. And we went back and forth. And I'm like, fine, whatever. Okay, it's going to sound all blah, 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 blah,
You're not the boss of me.
You're not the boss of me. Exactly. So they're always over like, well, it's your design, it's the way you want it. And I'm like, well, no, I want it your way. And I'm just going to pout. And so that's how it was. And I kept on thinking, that's just not what I would use. What I want is some kind of motion in the background that's not pitch. And I started thinking, well, what is that? I want something moving in the delays, but I don't want it to be pitchy.
Right.
And I started
really
thinking,
automated. Maybe it's
yeah,
kind of,
exactly. And so I started thinking, well, what if this filter ran through the delays, and not just like getting darker, like when all of us pedal builders fake like tape delay, we just put filter on it, and it just sounds dingy, right?
Yeah.
And we call it tape delay. And so I didn't want that. I wanted something that moved up and down. And I started talking to Aaron. I was like, what if we put something like a flanger, that type of comb filter, that type of notch filter on the audio? What does that sound like? Have we done that before with the Vibaverb? And he's like, no, we haven't done that before. I was like, rad. I had a cool new idea. So I was like, let's build that. And we have been working on it and developing it for, I don't know, it feels like nearly a year now, and or more. And it's really fun because what you do is you get this, like somebody's adjusting the tone control on your delays. And so they just mount these waves. They mount these, it just augments the playing because it's not, the pitch isn't getting in the way at all. And this other guitar player starts to play behind you with different tones set up.
Wow.
And I'm telling you what, if you're a fan of Zappo or any of these jam band type things, it's like a one-man band for the great Jam Odyssey or Psychedelic Freakout. It doesn't have to be that way because you could set it for a simple twist of tone control. And generally you don't play with that many delays that you can hear so many say revolutions or waves of this frequency changing in the background. But even the littlest bit, as it moves and as the tone shifts, it's just so perfect of a sound to put with the guitar.
That's fantastic, man.
It adds this huge dimension in the background of something going on with the delays, but not pitchy.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because we obviously talk about all kinds of pedals and everything here and have been doing so for a long time. And one thing that, Tony always kind of gives me sort of like the knowing dad look at me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I just want something that just has like some movement, but I don't want it to be like just exactly like if you turn on a phaser is like, it just sounds like you have a phaser on.
Right.
That doesn't sound like anything else.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, no. I want it like, and he's just looking at me like, you're insane. Just play.
Yeah. But he wants the same thing. That's what's so fun about this, because the rate of the oscillation of this notch filter or this comb filter and is not at the rate of the delays. You can control that separately, and you can set the depth of it and things like that. So it's moving in the background. It's giving some motion to your playing.
That's awesome.
Mind you, your straight guitar now, I wanted to emphasize, is not in a flanger. So your playing and everything that you've set up in your rig before and is still perfectly intact with your original guitar notes. You just blend in the amount of movement on this filtering of the delay lines. So it doesn't sound like you're playing through a flanger pedal at all.
Delay, not the actual delay line. That's cool.
Yeah. So your guitar is just as rock solid as it ever was. The tone of it, and it's just the stuff in the background.
And this is coming out in winter.
Yeah. So if everything goes according to plan, we'll be manufacturing this circuit board in-house. It'll be one of our first designs that we run completely in-house on our new circuit board manufacturing equipment.
Cool.
I know. It's so exciting.
Can you tell us what it's going to be called?
It's just, I know, lack of creativity, or it's just simply called Echo. Currently, we're spelling it ECCO. Cool. I hope I don't find myself in trouble with that at some point in time. But we've had there's a couple sneak pictures out. I actually had what I thought was going to be the finished design at the last NAMM show. So there's a couple pictures of essentially what it looks like. It's grown a little bit. It's stereo in, stereo out, tap tempo, presets, blah, 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 blah.
Wow.
It's got everything. It'll be our first product on our next level DSP, which is a much faster, much higher quality, much more capable device. So we're like going from the Red Wagon to the Learjet.
There you go. That's cool, man. Oh my golly.
I know. So that has really taken up 2 years of development, 2 years in understanding how this new DSP chip works and how to program it. And then a year on learning how to make circuit boards and to couple A to D converters and, memory chips and all this other stuff to the microprocessor. And nothing comes easy for us. We make every mistake in the book. We have to learn it the hard way. There's not schools for these things. So you have to just keep on doing it until you figure out how to do it.
Well, I sure am glad you are doing it and figuring out how to do it. And I can't wait to hear what that sounds like. It sounds amazing.
It is going to be fun.
Robert, will you promise to come back on at another time when we can talk about maybe some more pedals that you're doing and new things that are coming on? Awesome.
Absolutely. What a blast.
Yeah, it's been really great talking with you, and I know that we're going to get requests for more. We typically do if it's been as good as this one. So
nice.
We're gonna run through 2 major things to get out of our show today. The first one is
Would You Rather?
Oh yeah, baby.
Oh yeah.
That's right. So this week's Would You Rather. You've got a friend that, makes pickups and has a lot of pickups or whatever, right? And he's got some extra pickups and you've been kind of wanting to, you do a workover on your old telly. So he's got two different things for you you need to choose from that, hence Would You Rather. So you could either go with a lipstick set, and that's a bridge, middle, and a neck.
Dan Electro style
lipstick set. Or brand new. I'll make them too. Or one Filtertron pickup. You could put the pickup in the bridge or the neck.
Or the middle.
Nashville. Actually, you need 3 to have. The Nashville style would more likely be the lipstick set.
But just the one.
Or one Filtertron. Now, just to give everybody an idea, the Filtertron sounds more like a humbucker. It's got a much thicker sound than what the lipsticks will give you. Although the lipsticks will give you, more choices and sound. So,
yeah, but the Filtertron does sound a little bit different than a standard humbucker.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the way it's wired. Yeah. Phase different.
So, Robert, what are you gonna do? Which one are you gonna choose?
So what is the melody for What Would You Do? Sing it to me one more time.
Would you rather?
I would rather take the 3 lipsticks
there
home
we go.
with me.
Right on.
I'll take the 3 lipsticks. I think I have to have all those combinations in my life.
Yeah.
You sound like a person that needs those combinations.
Yeah.
Jared, what are you doing?
Oh man. Just love that the Filtertron sound in it. I've got one in one of my test tellies right now, and I love that sound, the Filtertron in the neck. But yeah, it's hard to pass up all the other sounds you can create with three lipstick combination. But what the heck, man? I'm gonna go with the Filtertron in the neck. That's what I'm doing.
Okay,
nice.
That's a really good rhythm. That would be a great rhythm guitar.
Yeah.
I
can dig that. I am going to go with. I'm going to go with the Filtertron in the bridge.
You thought about it.
I did. I'm really tossing because here's the thing. Realistically, I know I tend to play more bridge, and I think a Filtertron in a bridge. I mean, it's really kind of a Cabronita. That we just made that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's different.
It is
good,
different. Yeah. So yeah, I'll probably end up doing that. But
Nice.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Super. So that was our Would You Rather, and
Wait,
yeah. What?
What do you think Tony would do?
Oh, Tony would take 3 lipsticks, hands down.
You really think so?
Oh yeah, 1,000%.
By the way, we miss you, Tony.
Tony, We do. We miss you, buddy.
Oh, Tony.
Yeah, he's had a few things going on and wasn't able to make it, but he misses. He was really sad that he wasn't able to be here to talk with you, Robert.
It'll be the next time.
That's right. That's right. You guys would have a blast because Tony knows more about guitar stuff than
us put together.
It's crazy.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Him and I.
which isn't a whole lot between us put together. So
I got questions for Tony then.
good.
Hey, what I'd like to do is give away one of our Compressor Pluses. The Compressor Plus is essentially the old 4-knob. Yeah. And what's cool about, I've got a couple in my office. I've got one in my office. It was one of the very first ones built on our new surface mount production line. And so I'd like to give one to your audience.
That is amazing. I love it.
Cool.
Let's do it.
Cool.
So let's. I smell an Instagram contest coming up.
Yep. That'd be perfect.
I do. Do you guys like to do first one to answer? Do you guys like to do first one?
Well, we do random so that it's
nice.
It's fair for everybody. So
I love it.
Much like a couple of the other ones that we've done, I will make sure to post instructions on Instagram, and essentially everybody just has to follow a couple directions, and then we do a randomizer, and some lucky person is going to get the famed Compressor Plus from Robert Keeley.
Do me a favor. I'm paying the shipping on this, so let's make sure it's open worldwide, and if they give a t-shirt size, I'll even send a t-shirt too.
Smokes.
Worldwide t-shirt plus pedal. I love
Rockin'.
it. That's amazing. That's amazing. This is I'm just so excited about this. I'm just getting all
no,
stickers.
We're gonna get ourselves in trouble here.
I know. Well, okay, so everybody make sure you're checking out Instagram for this deal. It'll be coming up. You'll just see a post, which means you have to start paying attention on Instagram. Mm-hmm. And most people are, which is great. I'm thrilled that you're doing this. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to our audience.
Thanks, Robert.
I love being able to give back to those that are feeding our own community. So thank you so much for your generosity there.
No problem.
Speaking of generosity, I'm going to do Tony's deal here. This is his favorite thing to do, and this is where we thank our patrons at our executive producer level, and we also want to thank all the other levels because every single level counts, and every single person that's contributing greatly helps out our podcast. So we can't thank you enough. But to our executive producers, we want to make sure that those who are thinking about this get an idea of what you can do, what you're getting. You're going to get a t-shirt, a barefoot button, a whole bunch of stickers, and what else do you get, Jared?
Well, you get your name written
red on the thing.
Red on the thing. Sorry, guys, I was actually getting on our podcast group right now.
Fantastic.
Facebook, so I wasn't paying attention. But anyway, you do get to have your name read on the thing.
That's right. So we're going to do that really quick. And first and foremost, we want to, again, thank you to Corey Nigro for sponsoring this particular episode. This episode is dedicated to him. Thank you, Corey.
Hey, I want Corey to send me an email. I want to meet this guy.
Hey, Corey, you hear it? Send him an email.
Because I got into some woodworking, and I started to make stuff from trees in my yard and stuff like that. So I just can't wait to talk to him about his, maybe I'll leech an idea or two off of him.
That sounds awesome. He's probably going through the roof right now. So the other people we're going to thank real quick are Tom Barazin, Martin Cliff, David Wolfson, Matt Brammer, Carlos Mancha, Pete Marshall, Robin Smith, John Daly, Oliver Gonzalez, Sean Chris Kearney, John Anglin, Robert Marfleet, Darren Gregory, Gary Goodman, and Beckett. Woohoo! Zach J. Wright, Doug Christ, Michael Van Zant, Brad Partridge, Doug Gann, and Ken Sayers.
Thank you.
Man, that's a crew.
It is great, and we're just so thankful. If you're interested in helping to support our show, you can go to patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs, and you'll see all the good stuff there. Robert, where can people find you?
Fortunately, they can find us at Sweetwater. They can find us at all kinds of guitar stores Rip City, Anderton's, UK, all over the world. But our website is just robertkeeley.com. Or
Okay.
you can go to rkfx.com. rkfx.com.
And on Instagram?
Shoot, I'm too old to know what our Instagram address
Well,
is.
they can just find. It's actually Keeley Electronics. I know that one.
Thank you. Oh my God, my guys are they're gonna be so mad at me. They're like, oh, we knew you didn't check it.
Yeah. And then Tony, who's not here, you guys, if anybody wants a really killer pickup, pick guard, pickups are coming up. But if you want a killer pick guard made out of just about any kind of material you can think of, you've seen a lot of the ones that I've posted.
He's the best, man.
He
He's the
does a
go-to
fantastic
guy.
That's
job,
awesome.
and he's a sweet man.
Yes, he
okay,
is.
and that he's at PickGuardian1 on Instagram, or just go to pickguardian.com.
That's right.
Jared.
If you guys need any pickups, new pickups, old looking pickups, or whatever, I mean, I do the T-top thing. Nobody else really does that. Find me at brandonwoundpickups.com. And I am on Instagram, Brandon Wound. And I'm always posting, pictures of my machinery in my shop and all sorts of goodies, stuff like that. So would love to hear from you guys.
Yeah. If you want to reach me, you can hit me at Todd at theguitarknobs.com. Robert, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
You guys are awesome. It was a fun evening.
Good.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you, and I look forward to our next encounter. We'll see you at Winter NAMM for sure.
Nice.
But we'll for sure get you back on because it was great talking with you. So
Yeah.
Good.
everybody have a
deal.
great guitar week and subscribe.
Yes. Woohoo. There's two things I hate talking about. Me and pedals. No, just joking. Metal oxide semiconducting field effect transistor.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.